Hello, and before we begin, I'm just going to pre-warn everyone this is a very lengthy video and quite an in-depth and technical repair. This was certainly one of the most challenging ones I've had in a while, and it's taken me about a decade of learning over the years to self-teach myself how to fix this. So hopefully the information in the video applies or helps someone out with this model or its sister, the Wm-F65. Mechanically they both operate the same, but yeah, as I said, just pre-warning everyone, it's going to be about a 30-40 minute video by the time I'm done with it, and I won't spoil the surprise at the end, but yeah, it took me about a couple of weeks to get this one wrapped up. Hey guys, back here with another video on, this time, the Wm-F65. It's very similar to the last model that I looked at, just with recording functionality. This one has a few issues, so what I'll do is I'll get my little battery pack here and we'll plug it in. Make sure it's switched on. So I know the radio works, I've already tested that, but there is no transport movement. But there is a light. Press the button. So I've been into this unit before, so it's either a broken wire or a bad belt, so we can we'll pull this one apart and have a look. So I'm going to pull this one apart a little bit differently than the other one. Yeah, we'll get stuck into it. Okay, so just going to go straight for the back of this. It's very similar in terms of operation. So I'm just going to take the 4 screws out of the back of the unit. Once again, this long one never seems to come out. Oh, there we go, got it. So I'll just pull that up, flip that over, take the little screw out. And I'm actually going to go a step further, and we're going to take out the door. There's a few ways you can do this. What I'm going to do is cheat and lift up this plastic bezel to get to the screw. I'll zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing, but yeah, there's a screw in here, one per side, and this is just for the hinge. I'm going to put that in a separate container. You can generally just sort of sneak this up, because this bezel's already broken. So, and then flipping the unit around, it's just this one here on the side of the door, just for the wee hinge mechanism. There it goes, and I believe you can just pull this whole thing out. So yeah, that just literally just pulled out like that. There's the door with the hinge. You can just take the hinge off, but I always forget which way around it goes, so I just find it easier to do that. Cool. So yeah, basically this will just allow us to put a tape in there and test it out. So I can see the problem already. You can see it there. So as I said, these wires are very small and they always break, so this is where the soldering iron comes in. I'll flip this over, and there is no belt on this unit either. So what we'll do is we'll figure out where it goes, put it back together, and I have a feeling that's not the only issue with this Walkman. So yeah, it's the same design, basically the same pancake motor. We have the same pendulum gear and the main capstan drive. Here is the little thing that goes backwards and forwards. Basically this moves backwards and forwards for your record switch. That's important to get lined up with the hole and here there's a little hole. That switch needs to line up, otherwise what will happen is you'll put it back together and it'll be stuck in record mode, and then it will erase your tapes. Same problem with the plastic surrounds for the headphone jack and the metal sleeve that pops apart. That's just really just put a bit of glue around the metal jacket there and then put it back in, or replace it with what I've done is this red record one, so it's no longer green, but yeah, it's up to you on that. So the other thing I noticed is this other red wire is also not very well connected, so I have to fix that too. It's going to be really hard to see this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reattach this red wire, and also I have a spare board with some wires off it. This one is, well, yeah, it's pretty rusty, so good donor parts, and yeah, we'll resolder this together. The old wee wiggle test. Cool, well that's reattached. So now it's just this guy, and this is quite short, so I'm actually going to just try and find another wire, I think, just to replace this one with. Okay, I have this long black wire. Just going to pre-tin it. Yep, it's locked in. So, at this point I'm just going to run that over to the new location. Trim it down. Cool, I'll bring you guys back over so you can see what I'm doing. It's all about making it comfortable for you to work on, because I tell you, these things are so small, and I don't need glasses to see things, but jeez, these things are small. Even I struggle, and I've got good eyesight. So there's the old wire. Reheat, there we go. Cool. And the other ones that break are the ones for the LEDs all through here, so as you're flopping the board back and forth, yeah, be warned that might happen. Okay, just as a plane or a helicopter or something's going over top, flip this around and we'll see if anything works. I hear the motor. I think that's good to go. We'll give it a try. We'll put a belt in there and yeah, see what it does. Okay, same method as last time. I'm just going to flip the board over, and then I'm just going to pinch the belt together like that. Okay, well the belt's on, so we'll just give it a few turns. Yep. Just apply some power to it and see what it does. Hopefully it doesn't smoke. I can feel something clicking. I have a feeling it's the auto stop mechanism. Okay, so quick lesson. Basically this is the pinch roller, here is the head. This is what's inside of this exact model. The F15 just has a bigger head because it doesn't have recording capability, and it doesn't need this little magnet to go up and down. But on the other side of this is the auto stop mechanism, and basically that just has this little plastic lever that falls into a groove, and that groove, I wonder if I've got one in this thing of spares here. Yes, I do. I have a few of them actually. Basically, behind this is the capstan shaft here, and it's probably a bit hard to see, but this gear, oops, this gear has a cam inside of it basically, and it has a track that the you can see as it goes through there, and there's a little dot there, and as it turns, that's what that little gear on the head assembly, this little plastic thing, rides into. And when the spring that holds this in, there's a spring in behind here, normally rides inside of this little, it's like a little track inside of here. The spring breaks and this gear doesn't have any tension on it, so what happens is it falls into its groove on this, and it sits there clicking, and also can trigger the auto stop. So yeah, that's a bit of a gotcha. So what I'm going to try and do, because I don't have another one of these with the spring that works, is I may just take off or clip this little cam gear, and we'll see if that fixes it. I do have some spares of these with, you know, in the same condition with the spring that's missing in there, so if I break it, it's not a major, I have spares, but this is going to be a bit more involved, unfortunately. So yeah, I'll walk you guys through it. Okay, so we need to take this plastic bezel off, so there's a screw on each side. These are different lengths. The longer one goes in the side with the headphones, so I'll remove those two, and then basically this bezel just sort of pops up, tilts and wiggle it up, and then the whole thing comes off. And this is a very common issue. Doesn't really affect it, you can just sort of sandwich it back together and you won't even know that it's cracked. Right, so the next thing is this bush on the capstan shaft. There's a reason why I didn't cut my nail, and that's to get in behind it and pop it off like so. Do not lose that, because you will be absolutely stuffed. And that's it, that's the end of the Walkman basically if you lose that. Go. And then this guy just pulls up, and there's normally a washer. That's that plastic thing here. So don't lose that, I tend to leave it sitting up like that. Cool. And now we need to remove the button mechanisms. So turn this around, put that there to hold it in place. Go. And then we need to take the capstan, these two little screws for that capstan shaft. I'll see if I can get away with just taking this out. There you go. And there's normally a little bush that lives in the end of that, but it's missing. I'll show you what it should look like. It's probably a bit hard to tell the difference, but there's a little spacer inside of the end of that. So what I'm going to do is keep this one, and that one's got its sleeve too, so I've got 3, so I'll keep those as backups. Now this is it. This is what we need to get into here. So this is what I think's getting stuck and triggering those noises. So I'm just going to check and see is there any spring on this, and I don't think there is because it's just flapping around in there. So I might try and get my side cutters and just take some of that material off, and we'll just see if that stops that making that noise. And I've just noticed something, there is still a spring on this because if I push the little black little pin in, it springs back, so it means that it might be the placement of the capstan, camming, gearing, whatever you want to call it. So what I'm going to try and do is sort of put it back together. I'm going to try one of these new ones out and we'll see if that does anything with it. And what I'll do is I'll slide this back in, making sure that that little plastic washer's there. Cool, that's in. Now find my little spacer. Ideally you're supposed to replace these as you switch them, but good luck finding new ones of these. Okay, so bell back on, and I've got it sort of put together enough to try it out. It feels like this. Okay, let's look at that. Same thing, take the belt off, take the bush off. That's why I didn't sort of trim my nail, did not lose it. The cam withstand being taken off and on a few times, but not too many. And gently lift that out. Make sure the little plastic bush doesn't go anywhere. Right, this is going to be a little more involved. So one screw at the back here, there's 4 or 5 that we need to take out for the switch mechanism. There's one here, one there. Again, removing the capstan, sleeve, gearing. Tend to try and group all the screws and things together as well. Cool. Take that guy out. And we need to take 2 at the front out. Actually there's 3 I think technically. That screw's a little bit tired. Go. And there's one hiding next to the record switch. In fact, I need a different screwdriver for that one. Okay. Go. Now we need to take the little sleeves out that the screws are in, so that's these guys. Tilt towards you and pull up, and they'll just pull out. Tilt and pull out, and then this whole plastic thing should just pop forward. There's the screw for it, so I'm just gonna preemptively take that out. Cool. Now we just need to take the leaf spring for the switches out. And then that guy can just sort of sit there. This is where it gets a little tricky. You have to sort of tilt and wiggle this whole thing out. It's a little bit fiddly. It's easier to get it out. Putting it back in is a pain in the ass. So we've got to gently sort of pull it out. And there it is. Okay, so after some investigation I've found two problems. One being is the switch mechanism. The little screws that hold this flywheel in have hairline cracks, so I'm just going to swap it out with this good one. I have a bunch of spares, basically from old dead Walkmans. And also in the major one, the hub has the classic, this is just a spare one I have, has this big crack in it, and you can actually see it on the motor side. So what we have to do is actually take this whole circuit board assembly off and replace the hub that's under it. So it's not going to be a easy job, that's for sure. So I've got a spare one here. It doesn't have any cracks in the gear. Same thing that happens on like the direct drive Walkmans with that main drive gear, that the plastic gets brittle and shrinks and then gets a big fracture in it. Same thing with these. You can see the big crack in that one there. Okay, this is going to be a bit tricky. Basically the battery standoffs need to come out. So just use a flathead screwdriver and the posts just sort of pop apart. I need pin nose pliers if those don't want to come out, but there you go. Hopefully they're not rusted. I've had a few of these just sort of rust in place. And now we need to remove a few of these screws. I can't remember how many need to come out, but we will wing it. Don't think there is actually many. I believe the whole thing should just sort of flop out. Quick test. You sort of have to pull the board towards the back of the unit to clear this switch mechanism here at the front. I believe once it's there, you can sort of just pull it. There we go. Ah, yeah, I forgot about the tape along the front for the leaf switches, so just grab that. It's pretty simple, just gonna pull that out. There we go. Unfortunately I haven't unsoldered the head assembly, so yeah, and you can see the huge crack in the gear here. Okay, so plan C, I've got another one with its washer, and that's the magnet. I'm thinking of just switching this whole thing out instead of trying to pry that clip off, mainly because the clip doesn't want to come off nicely or go back in nicely. So what the thing we'll do is we'll reassemble this and then just take the motor off. So to do that, I'm going to push that back into its wee groove, flip gingerly the circuit board back over, cool. All this rubbish can go back over. God, there's so many little wires on this. I feel sorry for anyone who had to put these things together back in the 80s. Cool. Good enough just to get the motor assembly off. So to do that you have to be very, very careful. Just undo these screws. And these are plastic, so when you put them in, chances are they will tear themselves apart. Sort of glue down. Here we go. We'll take this guy off. This is the magnet. It's very got to be very careful not to get dirt or anything caught in between this. I'm going to place it flat on the side that it came out, so I know which way it goes. There's the electromagnet. I do have to take this middle post back out. There we go. That lifts up, and then that should just wiggle out. And there's that one. Here's my replacement. It's pretty much just slide everything back into place. I think I've got it around the wrong way. I do. I'm an idiot. There we go. Cool, I'm just going to get that middle post back in to sort of hold everything together. Like that. In one. Cool. Reverse order basically. The little guard in place. Now the fun job of putting all these screws back in. Whatever you do, do not over tighten these, because they will literally just eat themselves apart. Okay, now I need to get this guy back in. I've already swapped this pendulum gear. It's pretty much, it will go in and it will feel right once it's sort of seated properly. So it's very difficult to sort of get this in. A lot of wiggling and finessing, but to sort of line everything up. Okay, so I've managed to sort of get this in, make sure the little auto stop thing is in its place, and I just put these screws in it just to hold the switches in. Now the second part is to get this guy happy and centered. This is where pin-nosed tweezers and pliers and flathead screwdrivers come handy, just to keep everything together. And yes, you always will break a wire off for the LED, it's just how it goes. And then lift this little retaining thingy up and in. The other thing to check is making sure that the switches can engage freely, because the last thing you want is any wires to get sort of wrapped up in there. Okay, now get these posts back in. It's pretty much just the reverse of what you did before. Sort of tilt it out, push it in, and then what you can do is push everything together. If you have trouble getting them seated, just lift the post up a bit. They have to go behind a sort of little ridge. I'm just going to go ahead and put some of these screws in. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3 screws here at the front done. I've got 1, 2 there, and this little thing, I don't know what that's for, some sort of grounding strap. And I've got that all fed through. So what we'll do now is put the capstan system in there. Just rotate that around and oops. Drop it in place. Put 2 screws in it. Leave springs there, they will need adjusting again. So what I'll do is sort of lightly put everything in place. Put the screws in there. Loosen them off half a turn so I can adjust this. Also missed a screw on the motor assembly, so I'll quickly pop that in now. Again, using the reverse technique. Cool. Let's put this guy back in here. And when you push it through, just make sure that bushing doesn't pop out. Give it a few turns and it should just sort of, if it's not caught up in the head wiring, pop through. Get your very delicate plastic bush. And put a belt on it and we'll give it a try. Okay, well, just basically reassembling the unit here. What you guys didn't see over the footage here, which was just far too much to record, was I ended up switching out the whole base circuit board, which is the one with the motor on it. The one that was in there still had an issue. It was clicking and making all sorts of horrible noises. I think I broke something inside of there, so yeah, it's definitely something to be wary of, because I ended up switching both of the hubs out, which involves, you know, lifting that circuit board. The hub on the take-up reel or hub is, you know, it's basically fixed in there. You can take it apart, but you often damage it, so I would not recommend it. But yeah, you can see here that obviously it spins, it moves, that's good. At this point I've just decided to put the screws back into the unit and reassemble it. You know, I've just sort of spent quite a bit of time on it, a couple of weeks. You sort of get to a point where you ask yourself, how much time is something like this actually worth? Especially a unit that needed this many repairs, and to be honest, this is something that's going to be, you know, coming up more and more often. But yeah, just putting the screws for the front door cover in there. They're a little bit tricky to get in, but not too bad. And I'll do the ones for the hinges, as you can see, just two on the bottom there. I'm doing the voiceover because I forgot to plug in my microphone and the camera. You can hear is the lens focusing in and out as I you know, struggle getting the camera operated. But yeah, door back on there, back cover basically screwed in, and you can start sort of putting batteries in this thing and trying it out. You'll see here in the next video I'm adjusting the head positioning. You need a very small screwdriver for this. Do not strip the head of the screw, otherwise you'll be toast. I got it sounding really good, and then it started chewing tapes, and the only way I could get it to stop chewing tapes is to make it sound like this. So yeah, not sounding too flash. As I said, every time I adjusted the head assembly to make it sound really good and bring the treble back, it started chewing tapes, which I think is the alignment to do with the head and the roller, and also the pinch roller is probably very worn. Sadly, something that is going to be very common on these units. They're old, you know, 85 I think this one was made. So yeah, I'd say that's going to be a factor in the issue. Different tape types as well. These things are very picky with the type of tape you use. Quite often cheap thin tape. It's all sticky. That just loves to chew. It's Chew City. You can see here the original pinch roller in this unit has a bit of wear on it. I'm not very good at telling how much wear is on something. I can't tell if that's excessive, but I switched it out and it helped a little, but not a whole lot. But yeah, after a couple of weeks I think I've decided just to leave this one as is, and we'll carry on with some others. But yeah, hopefully that helps someone out with an in-depth teardown. Anyway, thanks for watching.